Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Unknown Armies, Book 1, Play. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game, where the player characters fight the status quo and achieve their objectives through occult means, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about the rules. This game is played with a D100. You take your two 10-sided dice, or any other variation, perhaps you are using an app, and you try to roll below a certain number. So let's say that you have a 40% chance of accomplishing something. You are usually rolling below an ability or an identity. So if you roll 40 or less, you are successful. If you roll above that, you fail. And that applies to every sort of situation, every important situation that requires some sort of risk or commitment. So depending on your ability, on your identity, on the circumstances at the hand, the number could vary. Maybe sometimes you will have to roll below 80, perhaps below 60, etc. Now there are going to be fumbles. If you roll 100 on your D100, something really bad is going to happen, something terrible. However, if you fail while using an identity, at least you can put an experience check beside it. Now there is also matched failure. This is when you roll a double number, perhaps 77, 55, so something unusually bad happens. But if you roll a matched success, you are victorious in your check, but something really odd happens as well. So you could end up with something bad but weird happening, or something good but strange happening as well, depending on the result. There are also going to be simple successes and simple failures, any sort of roll that does not match the criteria described, and there will be critical successes as well. If you roll a 1, then you achieve something amazing. There are also going to be flip-flops. This is the case when you want to switch the numbers. Perhaps you rolled 63, but you needed a 36. You can flip-flop this number or switch the numbers to get the desired result. You can only do this once per session, or when rolling an identity that has been related to your obsession. So that's the important thing to keep in mind. You can flip-flop one roll per session per passion if the passion is relevant to success. Some other things may allow you to flip-flop rolls, but they are usually related to magic, and they are quite capricious and unreliable. Now, when it comes to hunch rolls, you may get a hunch roll at some point because of magic. You simply roll the dice and you keep the result, even if it's bad. So if you rolled really poorly, let's say you rolled an 89, you need to keep that number and then engage in a task where failure isn't too bad. That way you can spend this hunch as a sort of bad karma that you have been dragging. But if you roll a really good number, let's say 15, then you want to save that hunch for when you need it most in a difficult situation, when performing a very perilous or difficult task. There could be some rare occasions in which you have multiple hunches. So you get to store these numbers and you spend them however you like. But it's important to note that they need to be spent in the next check available. So if you have, let's say, 32, 54 and 87, you want to use that 87 in the case where things are not as dangerous if there is failure, and you want to save the other better numbers for more important checks. Another important thing to note is that you never get hunches with objectives. Hunches are personal. Objectives are too big for them. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about some character details, such as stress checks. I really like how the surrealness of the theme mixes up with the mechanics. You have these strange, unusual results. If you roll doubles, if you get a critical hit or critical success, if you get a fumble, the hunches, etc. Almost every result, or rather there are going to be many times during this scenario where your character starts to question his or her own conception of reality, and this plays perfectly into the magical ambience, atmosphere, or panorama of the setting. I think this is especially true of the matched failure or matched success, where you have excuses to introduce an element or a hint of weirdness or oddness into the check itself. Perhaps you successfully manage to climb up the rope, and when you get to the upper part of a structure, you see a strange man smiling at you, greeting you when you reach the top. That could be potentially scary, but because it's a success, this is supposed to be weird and beneficial at the same time. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.